Abstruse appropriation, 2 generic white and a black, instant devoid, exile target non-land permanent. You may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend colorless mana as the mana of any color to cast a spell. This is basically Fractured Identity, but you need to pay the cost. So there's like a little bit of downside. If they have like a bounce spell, they could bounce the permanent back to their hand after you've cast it. But I think it's like an A minus. Alright, Arna Root, Sky Captain, 2 generic white, blue, black, legendary creature, human, night, flying, lifelink, ward, discard a card. Whenever a modified creature you control attacks, double the number of each kind of counter on it, and then for each non-token permanent attached to it, create a token that's a copy of that permanent attached to that creature. Oh boy, this is like a pretty big bomb because a 4/4 lifelinker for 5. I mean, it's 5 mana. It does have like ward discard a card. They won't like it's a little bit of protection. What I'm thinking is like you'll play this pre-combat and then attack with like a modified creature, like other modified creatures. Like this isn't modified inherently by itself, but like you'll just play this before you go to combat, and then you'll attack with like your modified creatures, and then they'll all of a sudden they'll get double their 1/1 counters, double their auras, double their equipments. Like this is very balmy if you actually have like the modification for it. So I put this as an A. All right, Conduit Goblin, red and white creature Goblin Warrior. When Conduit Goblin enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy counter. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay an energy. If you do, another target creature you control is +1/+0 and gains haste until end turn. This can't give itself haste, which is a downside. It's also a 2/2 for 2. The fact that it can give haste to your other creatures, I'd put it down as a C plus. But like you'll probably want to have like again other energy generator. Keep doing this. All right, Cranial Ram, black red artifact equipment, living weapon. An equipped creature gets +X+1, where X is the number of artifacts you control. Equip 2. It's very HR Geiger inspired, but I'm gonna put this as like a B, assuming you're playing Affinity, because this is actually a lot of like power if you're playing like Affinity with this. Like this could easily be like a powerful finisher in an Affinity deck because just like adding 4 or 5 power to like one creature means they can't really like ignore your creature, and it'll like trade up pretty well. Alright, Cursed Wombat, black and a green creature, Nightmare Wombat. 2 generic green, black, adapt to. Permanents you control have whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counter the opponent's permanent. Put an additional +1/+1 counter on it. This ability triggers only once each turn. I mean, it's a lord for like it's kind of like hardened scales on a 2/2 that can become a 5/6. So yeah, I'm like in that modified archetype, it's gonna be a B. Really good. Hardened scales on the creature. It can also grow big. Right. Cyclops Superconductor, 1 generic blue red creature Cyclops Wizard Prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets. Sorry, I'm not gonna go over prowess, the whole definition. But like when Cyclops Superconductor enters the battlefield, you get 3 energy. When Cyclops Superconductor dies, you may pay 3 energy. When you do, Cyclops Superconductor deals damage equal to its power at any cost. The target. Yeah, this is like your prowess payoff. Like it's not like like the baseline isn't like super good, but I mean it's a 3 mana 2/2. It gives you energy. If they ever like kill it, you can kill something else just by paying energy. And like there's possibilities with like the prowess. You could maybe like cast some removal spells in response to their removal spells and kill a bigger thing. Like the thing, I guess the part that can get really scary with this card is if you go like a few multiple prowess triggers, and then even if they try to block it down and kill it, like the death trigger could mean that you kill something else, or maybe you just aim the damage at their face. So it's pretty good there. I would say it's like a B minus. I don't know. Or maybe it could be like a B minus, B or whatever. Like just depending. Like it's got like a lot of 2-for-1 potential, and the prowess can be like scary. Emissary of Soulfire, 1 generic, 1 white blue, creature Jin Monk. When Emissary of Soulfire enters the battlefield, you get 3 energy. Pay 2 energy, put an exalted counter on target creature control, activate only the sorcery. So whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets +1/+1 until end of each turn for each instance is exalted among permanents you control. So, yeah, this is like an energy payoff, and like exalted can be really good. You have to pay. You can only activate as a sorcery, which kind of makes sense because you would want to put the exalted counter on before you declare attackers, anyways, because you only want to attack with like one creature. I don't know. Like the stat line on it feels kind of bad. It's a 1/4. Like it obviously gets better with like flying creatures. Like creatures with evasion, like having exalted is cool. I mean, you don't need to like put the exalted on the creature. It's just like you would actually probably put the exalted on your creatures that are like not attacking, like the ones that are just like sitting at home or whatever. So you could put the exalted on this guy and then attack with your flyer, if like, say, assuming your flyer is the only one that has a good attack. And then maybe it has a better attack because of the exalted, but I don't know. I'm just gonna start this as like a as like a C, maybe C plus, because I know exalted can be really powerful, but I don't know. It just like the stats on the card itself just aren't really that great. Alright, expanding ooze, 1 generic black green creature ooze, black green, adapt 1. Whenever expanding ooze attacks, put a 1/1 counter on target modified creature you control. Well, uh I mean, this seems really good. The thing is, you do need to have like you're going to need to like have like it doesn't just put the counter without on anything, or whatever. It has to be a modified creature. But like this sort of reminds me of like the Oran Reef ooze or whatever. Like I think Oran Reef like works kind of similarly, if I remember. Oh no, that says 1/1 counter on each attacking creature with 1/1 counter on. So it's like has some similarities, but I'm gonna say it's like a B minus. Because you will need to like have invest some like this won't like get a counter by itself attacking unless you've adapted it, I guess, but I don't know, be more closer to Faithful Watchdog, green and white, creature dog, vigilance. Faithful Watchdog enters the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. It's just Watchwolf with vigilance. It has modified. And it's a 3/3. I mean, I'm gonna put a B there. Genku, Future Shaper, 2 generic white, blue, legendary creature, Moonfall Wizard. Whenever another non-token permanent you control leaves the battlefield, Choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. Create a creature token with those characteristics. A 2/2 white fox with vigilance, a 1/2 blue moonfolk with flying, and a 1/1 black rat with lifelink. And then, oh boy, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Jeez. So there's no like ninjutsu in this set, so like the way that non-token permanents you control would leave the battlefield is like they die to removal or they die in combat. Like I guess like you block. Yeah, this card could be like really obnoxious, like because it just means like, oh, I can chump block with my 1/1 non-token, place it with like a flying moonfolk or something. Or I trade my 3/3 with your 3/3. I replace it with like a fox token. This definitely seems like it could really like mess up combat. I'm gonna put like an A there, because it messes up combat with the ability and then being able to like place your permanents. Like this also works with like landscapes again. You can sack a landscape to get a creature token. Kind of silly. Alright, Golden Tail Trainer, one green, or one generic green white creature fox samurai. Aura and equipment spells you cast cost X less to cast, where X is Golden Tail Trainer's power. Whenever Golden Tail Trainer attacks, other modified creatures you control get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is Golden Tail Trainer's power. So, like, the body is not very good because it's 1/3 for 3, but the thing is, if you're throwing a lot of, like, it already discounts, like, your aura and equipment. So this card's, like, saying, do you have a lot of, do you have, like, a lot of auras and equipments to make it bigger? So you want to go tall on this guy, and then you also want to have, other modified creatures so that they would get the bonus from you attacking with the Golden Tail Trainer. So, I mean, I think it's like a decent build around, but you might need like a lot of stuff to go your way. So I'm gonna put it as like a I'm gonna put it as like a C plus. Alright. Horrid Shadow Spinner, one generic blue and a black creature horror lifelink. Whenever a Horrid Shadow Spinner attacks, you may draw a card equal to its power. If you do, discard the mini cards. So this works with the draw. This basically enables the draw 3 cards in a turn payoff. I mean, it's just a 3-mana 2/3 lifelink isn't good. Isn't like that great by itself. Like I mean, they've had that before, like in Kamigawa, but like the fact that it basically lets you like faithless loot or whatever for free off of like the attack, and then if you have like modifications, you can draw even more cards. Also works with like the whole fill your graveyard thing. You could like discard your Eldrazi. You could discard like your Eldrazi to it. So it's like I think if you have like ways of buffing this, it's going to be like a B. I'm gonna put it as like a B minus. This has like it just enables like just because it enables the draw 3 card. archetype, and also possibly Reanimator. Imskir Iron Eater is a 6 generic black red legendary creature demon, affinity for artifacts. When Imskir Iron Eater enters the battlefield, you draw X cards and lose X life, where X is half the number of artifacts you control rounded down. And then 3 in the red, sacrifice an artifact, Imskir, deal damage equal to the sacrifice artifact mana value to any target. Oh boy. I mean, is this basically Bosch Iron Golem, except, yeah. It's Bosch Iron Golem, yeah, and it's like additional text. So, I mean, it's a smaller body than Bosch Iron Golem, but like you should like if you made your black red affinity deck appropriately, you should be paying like 5 for this, or maybe even like 4. And then like if you have 4 artifacts, you're drawing 2, lose 2. Which isn't bad on like your 5/5 creature, and then you can like sack some of those artifacts, especially like affinity artifacts are going to be really good with the ability, because like those affinity for artifacts are going to have a really high mana value, like 7 or something like that, and you're just going to dome them for like 7. So I put this as like a minus, I think. Possibly an A, but this card can be really insane if you like build around it. Right, invert polarity, blue, red, instant. Choose target spell, flip a coin. If you win the flip, gain control of that spell, and you may choose a new target for it. If you lose the flip, count that spell. I mean, it depends on what they're playing. Like, it does let you gaining control of, like, a permanent is actually like pretty cool. There might be like some situations where you have the only creatures in play, and then they cast a removal spell, and then you win the flip, and then I guess like that won't be that great. You'll have to like choose a different target for like the removal spell, but like that's kind of like a worst case scenario for that kind of thing. Or but I think it can be really good. Like it can be really backbreaking to play this. It's not quite desertion because it doesn't always give you control of the spell, but like I'm just gonna give it like B plus because I think it could be like really good like in some situations. Okay, is it Generatorium blue-red artifact? If you get 1 or more energy counters, you get that many +1 energy instead. Draw a card. Activate if you've paid or lost 4 or more. See this turn? Um, this I'm not really sure. I think it's gonna be like good in the dedicated energy deck because it gives you like 1. It basically increases your energy generation by 1, but how often like you would need to like to get the actual card draw, you'd probably need to have like multiple energy spenders, because a lot of the energy spenders they only trigger once a turn because they tap to do the thing, or they like logically like they trigger like when you attack or something. It's like, so at this point I think I would put it as like a C, because like you need to build around it with like multiple energy spenders and stuff. And you, of course, you also need the energy generators to spending. Or Kudo, King Among Bears, green white, legendary creature bear. Other creatures you have base power and toughness 2/2 and are bears in addition to their other types. This is probably a meme card. honestly, like, because you're it could be good, I guess, if like all your creatures are like really small and the only reason they're big is because they have counters. Like if you built your deck in such a way that like all your creatures are small and the way that they got bigger is because you put a bunch of counters on them, but this is probably like more of like a sideboard card. I guess it also works with like Eldrazi spawn because they'll become 2/2. I don't know. It like maybe in like the modified deck, but I probably put this as like a D or whatever. I like it. Works with Eldrazi spawn or small creatures that got big from counters. Alright, Nadu, Winged Wisdom, 1 and a green blue, legendary creature, bird, wizard, flying. Creatures you control have, whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put on the battlefield, otherwise put in your hand. This ability triggers only twice each turn. I mean, this is a really good payoff for auras, combat tricks, punishes your opponent for using removal on your stuff. Is you'll get a card draw off of it or a land play off of it. Say it's an A. Necrobloom, 1 generic white, black, green, legendary creature plant. Landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 0/1 green plant creature token. If you control 7 or more lands with different names, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token instead. Land cards in your graveyard of Dredge 2. It's basically a Field of the Dead. They put Field of the Dead on the 2/7. Um, I don't know what the thing. I mean, I guess if you build around the like Field of the Dead, it's gonna be good. I mean, it's. I'm just gonna say it's like a D, unless like again, I guess if you go super deep with the. I mean, there are like a bunch of landscapes or whatever common. That's probably what you're gonna have to do is like draft a bunch of landscapes. Some of them will probably like just be like call as mana sources, and it feels like kind of. But, all right, obstinate gargoyle, 1 generic, white black artifact creature gargoyle. Obstinate gargoyle has flying as long as the modified persists. So persists is when this creature dies if it had no 1/1 -1 counters on it, returns to the battlefield under its. So it's like it'll die. It'll be just a 2/2. Like the first time you play it, and then if it dies, like maybe you sacrifice it or it trades or something, it'll come back as like a 1/1 flyer. The cool part, I guess, is like you put some 1/1 counters on it, it'll get rid of the -1/-1. If you have like other ways to put 1/1 counters on it, it'll be a flying creature with like a bunch of counters on it, and also like could put equipment or auras on it to give it flying. Like the styles seem pretty good to put on like a flying creature. So and again, it has persist, so it's like if you have like a lot of ways to put +1/+1 counters to get rid of the -1/-1 counters, this could be really annoying to play against. So I'm gonna say it's a C plus. Alright, Ondu, Not Master, 2 generic white black, creature core rogue, lifelink. Whenever another modified creature you control dies, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Ondu, Not Master. 2/2, throw a line, white black, sorcery adventure, distribute 2 +1/+1 counters among 1 or 2 target creatures. So this is a way that you would enable your like creatures that do something when you put a +1/+1 counter on it, and then also like it it gets rewarded when your modified creature dies, and then it also becomes a modified creature. So I'm gonna say this is pretty great. Like this is kind of what you want to be doing in the modified deck. I'll put a B. So modified, enabler, and payoff in one. Alright, Flage, Titan of Fire's Fury, one generic red, white, legendary creature, Elder Giant. When Flage enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless it escaped. Whenever Flage enters the battlefield or attacks, it deals 3 damage to any target and you gain 3 life. Escape, double red, double white, exile 5 other cards from your graveyard. So it's basically like it's like the cousin of Euro and Croxa. It's dealing 3 damage to any target is probably worse than like what Euro or Croxa do or whatever. I mean, to be fair, but it's supposed to be a balanced version of those cards. Like if there's like enough targets where like the lightning helix is like consistently hitting something, I can see it being good. The only thing I can maybe see could be an issue is like I don't think white red has a lot of ways like fill the graveyard. But like if you do escape this and it starts attacking and they don't deal with it, like it's probably gonna run away with the game, but not so much necessarily in the way that like Euro does. So I don't know. I could see it as like potentially a B plus, just because of like repeated lightning helix has like some potential, but it might be closer. Right, Planar Genesis, green, blue, instant. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tab. If you don't put a card from among them into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in order. So I thought this card was like Growth Spiral. It isn't really. It's like worse than Growth Spiral. It does look at 4 cards, but it's not like draw a card. It's not like explore or whatever. You draw a card and put a land. Um, I don't know. I'm just gonna put it as like a C, but I don't know. This doesn't seem like that great. I guess it is like ramping, so maybe it's a C plus. Put a C plus because it does like ramp you for 2 mana as an instant. Alright, Psychic Frog, blue black creature frog. Whenever Psychic Frog deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, draw a card. Discard a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Psychic Frog. Exile 3 cards from your graveyard. Psychic Frog gains flying until end turn. So this is basically a throwback to Psychotog and also Ophidian. I put it as an A minus just because like the threat of activation is really good, and like the combat damage ability also like fuels like the counter ability and the exiling the 3 card like it just has like really good synergy with itself. Like exiling 3 cards from your graveyard makes it more likely that this combat damage ability happens. Right, Pyretic Rebirth, 2 generic black red instant. Return target artifact or creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Pyretic Rebirth deals damage equals that card's mana value to up to 1 target creature or planeswalker. So this is really good with those expensive affinity or cycling cards. It's like a removal spell that also like um it can also like raise dead, so I'm willing to put it as like a C plus removal spell, instant speed removal spell with raise dead. Alright, Riddlegate Gargoyle, white, blue, artifact creature gargoyle flying. When Riddlegate Gargoyle enters the battlefield, you get 3 energy. Whenever you attack, you may pay 2 energy. Whenever you do, target creature you control gains lifelink until end turn. I mean, this is like a pretty solid energy payoff. Pretty solid energy payoff. Like lifelink can make racing hard. I'll put it as a B minus. It's also like a 2-mana 2/2 flyer. Alright, Roshin, Roaring Prophet, 2 generic green red legendary creature giant shaman. When Roshin, Roaring Prophet enters the battlefield, mill 6 cards. You may put a card with X in its mana cost from among them into your hand. Tap, reveal any number of cards with X in their mana cost in your hand. Add 2 colorless for each card revealed this way. Spend this mana only on costs that paint X. It's just gonna be like a 4/4 for that graveyard for the most part, I think. I put it as like a D, like meme tier. Alright, Scurry of Gremlins, 2 generic red-white enchantment. When Scurry of Gremlins enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 red gremlin creature tokens. Then you get a amount of energy equal to the number of creatures you control. Pay 4 energy. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end turn. So it's a go wide payoff. Go wide payoff, and also can fuel your energy. I'll say C plus here. It's not quite it's not quite heroic reinforcements, but it could be very similar. Remember, heroic reinforcements was really good, but it also like increased the creatures by +1/+1. Relevant. Snapping Void Craw, 1 blue-green creature Eldrazi total. Eldrazi turtle, devoid. Tap, add 2 colorless. 3 generic colorless, tap, draw a card, 1/3. Like, not a good stat line, but it's a good enabler for the large Eldrazi and a late game mana sink, C+. Alright, Sneaky Snacker, blue-black, creature fairy rogue, flying. When you draw your 3rd card of a turn, return Sneaky Snacker from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Say it's a C+. Basically, your draw 3 payoff. And Titan's Vanguard, 3 and 3 generic, red, green, creature Eldrazi devoid. Whenever you cast a spell and whenever Titan's Vanguard attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each colorless creature you control trample. I put it as a B+. This card's gonna snowball really fast. Like, just pumping your team, and then, like, if you attack with this and pump your team again, I die. But again, you need to build around it with colorless cards. Alright, White of the Reliquary, black, green, creature, zombie, night, vigilant. White of the Reliquary gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard. Tap, sacrifice another creature. Search your library for a land card, put it in the battlefield tab, and then shuffle. I guess if you're playing, I don't know, this is probably more of a card for like constructed. I'm gonna put it as like a C, because I don't, like, I know you could sack Eldrazi spawn to like thin your deck. That makes it a little bit better. It won't get bigger because it needs to see creature cards in your graveyard, but it also doesn't synergize with modified stuff because it's not getting counters, it's just getting bigger because of its text. Then, alright, best common creature in the set, I'm pretty sure everybody's been talking about this one. Writhing Chrysalis. 2 generic, red and a green, creature Eldrazi drone, devoid. When you cast a spell, create 2 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature tokens. Reach. Whenever you sacrifice another Eldrazi, put a +1/+1 counter on Writhing Chrysalis. So it reads out like a 4/5 reach for 4 that gives you 2 ramps. Also really good with like that Titan's Vanguard I mentioned earlier, or I guess any other like go wide stuff that like works with Eldrazi spawn. They work exceptionally well with other copies of itself. Like if you have like multiple Writhing Chrysalis or Chrysali or whatever, and then you start sacking spawns, like they'll both get counters. Um, like there's other ways to sack Eldrazi besides like sacking Eldrazi spawn. You can play like Eviscerator Insight or types of things. Like there's a lot of like um synergies with this card, but it just does like a lot of things and has like a pretty good stat line when you are like doing the sack. Obviously, if you're not sacking with it, like you want to save the spawn, it's gonna be like, kind of dorky. Well, but like you'll probably be sacking Eldrazi spawn to cast like your big stuff